Hey, welcome back, Wargamers. Purple Druid presents Wargame Culture, and today we have a special treat for you. Today we're going to talk about abstraction and representation on the tabletop wargame battlefield. The topic has come up several times in the last few days, and it has made me think and write lots and lots of comments and blog posts, not blog posts, Discord posts, comments on YouTube videos and things like that, because there seems to be some misinformation as well as some confusion as to the best way to represent your minis on a battlefield, or how to use things that aren't minis on a battlefield in a way that makes sense. So we're going to go through a few of these. I'm going to talk about a few different methods of representing armies on the tabletop battlefield. So first of all, I'm going to say index cards. I have done this behind the scenes while dungeon mastering for basically chainmail style battles during a Dungeons and Dragons game. I'll put a link to a blog post about that in the comments down below, or the description, I should say. But basically, you have your index cards. The archers will shoot at the light infantry. In chainmail, for instance, you have 50 at a 1 to 10 scale, so that's 5. That means that if you roll a d6, say on a 1 to 3, you'll do 3 casualties, and on a 4 to 6, you'll do 4 casualties. And if that's the case, of course I don't have a pencil handy, but you would just mark off so many casualties, and then if you have to make a morale check or what have you, you can do that. And this kind of battle can be done very quickly, very fast to set up. If, say, for instance, you are playing in a Dungeons and Dragons game and a Mast Combat breaks out, you don't have to break out the minis. You don't have to get out the whole table and the mat and this terrain and everything. You can literally resolve it right there with index cards. So there's that. The index card method is also specifically designed for the basic Mast Combat system that I had up for playtest and review on my itch.io. But that is getting finalized this summer as part of this big project that we're working on. And so that will be available again in the fall, or at least I'm praying that it's going to be ready by Christmas. Actually, not even Christmas, the end of October, ideally, so I can have it for Carnage Con. But in any case, those are index cards. You also have chits. The Hex and Chit war game is, the beginning. I mean, it goes back to, it's one of the oldest types of war games that we have. So you can use chits to represent your men, your troops. You can use them on hexes. You can use them on maps for point to point. Lots of different ways. You could even use chits like this if you wanted to do a war game, and just keep in mind your scale. But you could use chits like this and move them around on a tabletop just like this with the various terrain, your forest, your hill, and chits will work just as well as actual miniatures. Another big one are wooden blocks and cubes. And of course, this goes back to the old Kriegspiel from 1824, all the way back into the early 19th century. So they came up with some symbols to mark some blocks, and they use red and they use blue. And so you can move these around on your map. They can come into contact, they can do battle, they can shoot at each other, they can do all sorts of things. You have an artillery icon that you can use in lieu of an artillery miniature. You have infantry icons, you have cavalry icons. So again, you can use blocks, and blocks come in different shapes and sizes. This right here, this is actually a Scrabble tile. I recommend hitting the Goodwill store or the other kinds of discount stores like that. If you see a Scrabble board, just grab it. I've picked up 3 or 4 of them for, I don't know, less than $5 each. And I believe each one is supposed to come with 100 of these little wooden blocks. They're about 4 millimeters thick. They're just shy of an inch square. And we're going to get to this inch square thing in just a minute, but you can see this is an inch. So it's a little bit smaller. But again, these are great for, representing troops on the battlefield, or especially if you're using a strategic map and you want to move troops around and then fight a tactical battle later on when these two units, these two armies come into contact on the strategic map. So, and again, you can mark these. I just spray painted these. These are Cheapo Blocks. Literally, I got them at the dollar store, or the $1.25 store, I guess it is now. And I just painted them with spray paint. So I believe I think you can get 36 of these in a bag for $1.25. So I purchased quite a few bags of them. As you can see here, I have a whole quart container full of these little cubes in blue. I have them in red, I have them in white and in gray and in yellow and in green. Blue and red and gray. Why blue and red and gray? Well, because blue and red are the classic color scheme for good guys and bad guys. But also you can do Napoleonics with those, right? English versus French. I have blue and gray, so I can do a Civil War, American Civil War. So that's pretty cool. And if you don't want to buy stickers, like I said, I have stickers. I made these and taped them on there. So, because I'm going to use these in a video in a few minutes. We're going to play out a 1-hour war game battle, and we're going to use these and these. But if you don't want to buy stickers, you don't have to. You also don't have to make them and glue them on or tape them on. You can just, like I did here, I spray painted 5 sides. And then that last side, you could go ahead and draw your symbol on, by hand. Or if you just wanted to print it up on a label, you could do that. And then just stick it on there. And then you have the blue, to just, so you can tell which is which. So there's that. So, Chits and Blocks. We also have Standees. You can get these little Standees. I believe this is from Index Card RPG. You can make these little Standees. And while this is technically set up for 28 millimeter, or at least just positioning on a battle board, a tactical battle board for skirmish battle, I have seen on Twitter people sharing pictures of things that look very much like this, but they're Standees made out of foam core, set on cardboard. There is absolutely nothing that says you can't make Standees in lieu of these miniatures. But now that we're talking about miniatures, let us talk about miniatures. So these, in particular, are Warlord Games. These are the, you know what, let's have some more light. There we go. These are the Warlord Games 15 millimeter American Civil War troops. These are going to be used for the Imaginations campaign coming up very, very soon. But we're going to start that campaign with blocks, because I purchased these in October of 21 before my surgery, so I'd have something to do while I was in muscle rehabilitation. And of course, I've only got 1,500 of them painted, and that's not going to be enough for a full campaign. So, alas and alack, what do? I went and found some Risk pieces at the old Goodwill store. Bought a few Risk boxes and pulled these out. Glue them onto the 1-inch wooden chips. Again, these are about, I think, about 2 millimeters or so. And I painted these up. Once again, I painted them in red and blue and gray so that I can use these for Napoleonics. I can use them for Civil War. Anything really, it doesn't really matter. This is a special piece because I'm going to use it in this afternoon's game because I need some cavalry and I don't have the Confederate cavalry done. Here I do have 4 regiments of Confederate infantry. They're painted up, but the Confederate cavalry is not done, so we're going to sub in these red ones, and I don't know why I didn't use gray ones, but in any case, that's our cavalry. So if you're in a hurry and you want to get things done and you don't like the idea of blocks and you want to stick with miniatures, this is a really, really fast way to do it. These particular ones are painted with the Vallejo speed paints, and they came out okay. They're obviously not done, but I want to get this going. I want to get this on the table. So in order to do that, I've really got to get moving. Here's some more infantry that I did. And again, you can spot these on the table. You can tell they're the red guys, separate from the blue guys or the gray guys, and that will we can play a game. We can play a game with this. Nothing says we can't. So you can use game pieces. You can also get these chits, and like I said, you can get a dozen bags of 50 of these little wooden squares. Like I said, they're 1 inch by 1 inch. They've got nice rounded corners. Actually, they're not 1 inch. They are 25 millimeter. That's important, especially if you're trying to push them together. But in any case, they're 25 millimeter squares, about 2 millimeters thick. And you can do a lot with them. You can glue your Risk pieces to them. Or, for less than $5, you can buy some matchsticks and glue those matchsticks down onto the chip. And all you have to do is paint the chip green, paint the matchstick black, or a dark brown, or a dark gray maybe, and then little dots in the front for your soldiers. So if you want these to be English troops, you dot them red or whatever, and then just a little dot of color on the top for each of their little heads. And if you want, you can do silver. If you want to do helmets, you could do medieval. You could do these fairly generically. Maybe just use light colors, different tans and browns on the tops for, just hair. And then once you've got that done, you can call this anything you want. You can call this swordsman. You can call this spearman. You can call this rifleman. Theoretically, you could call this cavalry if you wanted to. It doesn't matter. Once it's painted, you can use them for anything. If you watch Joy of Wargaming, he uses a lot of different styles of these, but he went ahead and bought the little metal pieces to put on here and paint. Frankly, I think they're so small that it wouldn't really matter. And also, my eyesight is so bad, I can't see that. I can't see what to do. Paint some little tiny guys. So I'm just going to dot these. I'll share these on Twitter later when I get them painted. I'll paint them up later this afternoon so that you can see them. And also, I really want to get that Warlord Games Pike and Shot. But I'll tell you what, it's taken me 2 years and I'm not done with the American Civil War guys. So here's what's going to happen. When I am finished, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make up some little units with matchsticks and cardboard, and I'll paint these up, and these will do for Pike and Shot. Why not? Huh? How's that look? Pretty good? And then we can do some Pike and Shot battles. So that'll be a lot of fun. Like I said, Joy of Wargaming uses lots of the 2mm bases for battles in various systems. He's used them for Dragon Rampant in outer space. He's used them for Napoleonics. He's used them for fantasy battles. So there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize. And frankly, you could use this in Lion Rampant or Dragon Rampant. You could use it in Xenos Rampant. You could use it in, oh goodness, any number of games, which I'm completely blanking out on. You know what? If you've got your commands and colors, you got your commands and colors blocks, right? You can use those for fantasy, for ancients, for Napoleonics, whatever. You don't have to put those on the hexes. You don't have to use the cards. You can use any rule set you want. And yeah, so just in conclusion, I'll say this is important because I have definitely learned that painting up lots of minis takes a long, long time. And like I said, this is what, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. This is 70. And this can take a couple of weeks to get done, you know, and then you've only got, but you've got, you know, you got one regiment and some skirmishers. Or you can spend an afternoon and you got this. And you can get to the important part, which is playing. Let's see. Yeah, so stay tuned for the Imaginations campaign. It is coming soon. I promise. It's now June. Oh my goodness. And I want to have this going. Campaign Carnival will be coming up, and we're going to be focusing on the campaign part more so than the battles. The battles that I share will be done with some blocks, maybe some minis. I think I have enough to do some skirmishes anyway, or some small battles. And who says we can't call this a regiment, right? There you go. Who says we can't maybe mix it up? These are some scouts. So there's some different ideas that we can explore. Oh, before I go, the terrain. This is 6mm terrain you can get from Drive-Thru RPG. It's cardstock. You just print it out on cardstock. I printed this on paper, and I used manila folders and foam core to build it. There's a matchstick on there. This I printed off the internet. This is printed on cardstock as well to make a 15mm building. And then what I've also done is I have this with the 6mm buildings that I put onto a 6-inch square canvas board. And then I just did the, did the flocking and the mud and what have you with the plants. And now I have a built-up area. So this can count as a city. This can count as a village. This will work. This will work with blocks. This will work with minis. You can have a battle. They're in cover. Again, we're abstracting all these things. We don't have to get in the nitty-gritty. The battle is the thing. The campaign is the thing. Let's get this stuff on the table and get some playing done. I know I've been spending far too much time sitting at the model table, the hobby table, trying to get all these things done. These are little train trees. And these are 2-inch square canvas boards. They're very inexpensive. They're nice and sturdy. I mean, I could bend this, I could fold it, but it's real sturdy. It holds the paint, it holds the glue for the sand. So this is just felt. This is 50 cents at Walmart or Michael's. You can get it in different colors. So this is my forest. If you want to get mouse pad mats, you can get these. This is for water. This is for what? For rough, for shrubs, for forest, right? I can put a tree on there. All right, that's a forest. Very simple. I'll tell you what, I'm learning a lot about abstracting these ideas so that we can get to the battling instead of being stuck doing the hobbying and the theory crafting all the time. So anyway, we just hit 20 minutes. For those of you that are still here, thank you very much. Please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any more videos. Hit the like button so that this will show up in your feed. And then be sure and click on the links below to see some of the things that we'll be sharing, especially if you go to wargameculture.substack.com, where that is going to be the host site for Campaign Carnival this year. It will be available to all free subscribers, or just visitors, I suppose. But anyway, be sure and check that out. I look forward to hearing about your campaigns and seeing what happens with the participation. Thanks again, and keep on gaming.